It all does. Yeah. It's a good system.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody. It's Thursday, December 9th. The year is 2021. My name is Robert Sagers. I'm one of the product managers here at Sierra Interactive. And today we're going to be talking about our newest feature. We released it earlier this week, Sierra Automations. I'm joined today by my friends and Sierra clients, Buddy Blake, who leads a Team Ridge in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Michael Novak. He's up in the great Northwest, leads a team and just joined Real. And so Mike has been somebody.
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, congratulations.
Now we're learning things about each other.
Where were you at before? What were you independent?
We were at Keller Williams.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And we were briefly at EXP like 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, I'm glad that we got that out of the way and some new knowledge about our friends. So Buddy and Mike, you guys have both been, as we were building Sierra Automations, which just by the way, at a big picture level, Sierra Automations are designed when you're using Sierra to be able to automate some of those tasks that occur on a really, a manual basis or maybe aren't happening at all. So you've got maybe some workflows or processes that you are wanting to do, that you're wanting your agents to do that are repetitive and maybe even annoying. Or maybe they're just something that's not happening at all. And automations are designed to essentially help to make sure that you can alleviate some of that need for constant coaching and accountability and brain space, and make sure that some things can occur in the background while you're able to take that brain space, that coaching, and dedicate it to some other, the best things for your business in the moment. So we were really excited to get Sierra Automations into the hands of our clients. And Buddy and Mike, I know that we've talked. It was one of these interesting things. Whereas we're leading up to the launch of Sierra Automations, we anticipated internally that the response would be positive, which it's, generally that I've seen overwhelmingly positive, really excited about that. But that it would also be this response of, this is great, and now what, right? It's one of those features where people know that there's some power there, that they can take their business to the next level with it, but they're not really sure how to do it, which is one of the reasons why we're having this chat today. So maybe, Mike, I'll start with you. Mike, you were somebody that we had consistent conversations with over the course of the past months as we're thinking about triggers and conditions and actions. And maybe just at a high level, Mike, why don't you talk about what's the value of automating something?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two really big things that this solves for us and for all of the Sierra users. And those two things are efficiency and accuracy. Like those were the two things that I was really looking for as we were kind of talking through this. I discovered that when we're training people to use Sierra and Hatch systems, we're often having to do a lot of shadow sessions and say, hey, don't forget to take that tag off when you change that status, or don't forget to mark the phone number as bad, and don't forget to tag the phone number as bad as well, like all these little details, if you will. And so I was just thinking, like, okay, if there's a way that if we do one thing, everything else then would occur automatically, it would not only make us a lot more efficient, because instead of spending 5 minutes per lead, we'd spend like 30 seconds per lead, but also make our database much more accurate. Because we have 68,000 people in our database. When I go into that database, I see errors all over the place, and it's not intentional errors. It's just, hey, I was on the go. I got a new lead. I forgot to remove a tag that signifies it's a new lead to the whole team. Now this lead's maybe getting called by other agents and things like that. So that was kind of the spirit behind all of this.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's not necessarily that people are intentionally going around and trying to, create problems within the systems in your database, right? There's just sometimes you are in a rush or you make a mistake, and that can has downstream residual impact in a negative way, and automations can potentially help to mitigate any concerns there. Buddy, how about you? What's the value in automating something? Buddy, folks who are watching probably know you pretty well at this point, and I know that we've talked a lot about the personal touch, and you can't replace a person, and treating leads as who they are, which are people and things like this. I'm curious, from your perspective, what's the value of automating something?
For me, it's a safety net. purely. It's a blanket, because in our world, I want to be able to, I can set action plans with any of these systems. You know, even old school top producer, you can do action plans, have automations run, but what you can't do is stop them if this happens. And you can't take, like, I'm big on the behavior, as you well know, Robert. That was my big, I'm real interested in behavioral, because that way, you know, over the years, I've learned that we can come up with the most wonderful action plans, but unfortunately, everybody doesn't always play along to our schedule and to what we want. So, and most times, people that are making a decision to buy or sell or do something in real estate, it's never in their life. Forget automations. In their life runs on an if then. Okay, if somebody dies, if somebody gets a divorce, if somebody has a baby, if something gets sick, that's when, or if they retire, or if COVID happens, that's when that if creates something else. And having a mechanism in there to help identify those ifs, because you can't scale tens and, you know, hundreds of thousands of leads and keep an eye on everybody. And having that in the background, I mean, I'm just real excited about version 1. It's remarkable what you've got. And I think that for me, it's going to help identify it for the agents. But the other thing is accountability. We're already seeing, just with our very first thing was the anniversary day. What we did is we put it out there within 7 days, tell the agent, but also within 7 days, send me a task so that I can go in and send a quick video. But also I'm watching what the agent does, which I never did before on a past customer. Never did I have that mechanism. Now, am I going to do everyone? No, I won't. Probably not all the way back. But we did that. And then the other big catch for us, and we're seeing that our agents aren't following up as well as they should. Anytime somebody, this isn't easy, these are laydowns. Anytime somebody requests information on a property or schedules a showing, we change it to prime. We put a task on it for the agent to call immediately. And we also, now we can't add a second task unless we run a second trigger. But what we do is we just send it, if you put a note and have it email to all our managers individually, and then it puts it up and says, did they do it? Basically. I mean, those from a management standpoint, this to me is certainly a good tool to engage with the customer, but I think it's a wonderful tool for management to engage with the agents and be able to put their toe in and leverage with the customer.
That was a focus of ours, buddy. You were somebody else that we talked to as we were building automations at the front end, strategizing about what would be most helpful. And we did have agent accountability in mind as we were building automations. It's not just about lead management. So we'll have more to come on that as we continue to build different triggers, conditions, and actions. But thought it might be helpful if we've kind of set the stage for why automations are great. Thought it might be helpful to just give a quick overview of the way that these automations work within Sierra, if that sounds good with you guys. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Hold on, we got to put it up there. I got it. There it is.
Cool. So automations, just at the very highest level, we've talked about already the triggers, conditions, and actions language. All that is, and like Buddy said, is if then. So the way that automations work is you can create these various kind of workflows to occur within Sierra, where if this thing happens, that's a trigger, and these things are also true, that's the conditions, then do this thing or things, that's the actions. And so we can start with just something like, if a specific tag is applied to a lead, but you can also build automations on if a certain status is updated for a lead, a specific date, and these are the ones that Buddy was referring to. A lead has a birthday coming up in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and as well as home anniversary, as well as a specific calendar date. And then these are some of the things that are, I think, especially exciting. If you've got a Sierra front-end website, there's a lot of different behavioral triggers for automations, including if a lead schedules a showing request or favorites a property or clicks, several consecutive listing alerts and views a single property several times. You define the variable, right? So there's a lot of different things that can set off an automation. And then there are these conditions or these criteria. So if this thing happens and these things are also true. So for example, if lead status does not equal blocked or junk, or if there's a fully automated action plan present, or if they're in a pond or not, or what's their email status, their phone status, who are they assigned to in your account? So maybe you want to do, if the buyer agent does not equal a specific user on your account, you can add these, multiple criteria, up to 5 per automation. And then you can set off that action. You can assign an action plan, pause a plan, stop a plan, apply or remove tags, update lead status as a part of your automation. And then a couple of these that Buddy already mentioned, adding a note to the lead detail page and optionally emailing that note, as well as creating a task. And I think this is probably going to be one of those things where if you're wanting to, for example, make sure that no birthday, no home anniversary gets missed, you can certainly apply a task, one of the various types that are there, and make sure that it gets done. So you can set these automations to run once per lead, a maximum of once per day, or every single time that it works. There's a ton of granular data around the various automations in the automations dashboard. And it's just one of those things that I think is going to be really powerful for clients as they get into it. So let's talk about that for a minute. Mike, Buddy, you were on a meeting we had yesterday with a group of clients, a bunch of sharp clients. And I think one of the things that we were anticipating, and I think you all have probably experienced, I know, Mike, you mentioned it, is that folks are excited, but not really sure what to do next with automations. I'm curious, what kind of advice, Mike, would you give to somebody who's watching and is like, yes, automations are great, now what?
So there's 2 things that I did that I thought was really helpful and that I would suggest doing. One, jump in and play with the tool so you understand the tool and the capabilities of it. Like, you actually need to get your hands dirty and see what is possible, because it's really the only thing that is limiting the capability here is our own minds on what we can conceptualize and come up with here. So I would definitely get your hands dirty on the tool, but then I would sit back, like, go do some really deep thinking and just say, okay, when I touch a lead and I do a certain thing, what else do I also do? And I would have that conversation with your agents, with your ISAs, with your admin team, and really kind of unpack that and just start doing some strategic thinking about it. You don't need to automate everything, but there's a lot of redundant, just manual movements in the database that I think this will take a lot of pressure off of your team if you think about it with.
Right. And Buddy, what would you recommend to somebody who's having that same question? Mike said, give it some thought, think about what you're doing. What did you do, Buddy, when you personally, what did you do when automations went live for you?
I mean, first thing I did is I started looking at the Zaps. We've been using Zapier to do it kind of a hack way. And I started looking at the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff. But then I got with my agents and my staff, and we sat down and had some conversations. And one of the biggest things that they asked me to not do is just go whole hog, because I have a tendency to go whole hog on stuff and just let's put it all in at once. And then, we've seen what that can do over the years when you drop a whole bunch of stuff down and overwhelm people, get a bunch of unsubscribes, and just, I think you step into it lightly and you start with this. You got to look at your business flow. I mean, like Mike said, go lightly, play with it. You can't hurt it. Put some test data in and start looking at how your business flows, and then simply putting it on paper first. And maybe walk through. I'm a big Post-it note guy. We've got a wall that we sit down and we say, okay, like when we're designing action plans or whatever we're doing, or checklists for transaction management, we say, okay, here's this, let's put it here because I can move it around. And we just literally kind of Post-it note. Let's start with the easy things where it's pretty much a trigger and this happens. Not a trigger, 5 different criteria and 27 things happen. Start slow and things that won't really affect. We're doing the stuff that affects our staff and agents first. And we're not going to take it on the customer side until we really have a good handle on it.
And both of you were part of the beta. And so you had a bit of a head start, and that's, taking off the table the fact that we were conversing about this feature as we were building it. But so for the person who's just kind of become aware of automations maybe this week when we announced it, or late last week and released it this past Tuesday, it sounds like what you're saying is don't expect or don't have this idea in your mind that you're going to immediately be able to jump into Sierra automations and create, 50 different workflows that are going to immediately impact your business. It's all going to be perfect, right? That's not what you all did. It's taking some time to really think through those things that are going on in your business. You're collaborating internally with your team, right? Did you do that as well, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
With the admin team, the ISAs, and the agents, we all talked about it.
Right.
And I think I probably played with the tool 10, 12 times before I built one automation.
So just kind of keep that in mind, right? And now the kind of the flip side of thinking there might be, well, I don't have time for this. And that's even apart from it's December. And my experience, having been at Sierra for over 4 years, is that December, January, February, maybe even in March, clients typically do, if you're not in Florida, clients do typically have a little bit more time on their hands to spend some time thinking about systems, especially right now. Both of you are you think at a high level, you're thinking about your business, you're thinking at a systems level. And as you're finishing up here in Q4, I'm sure that both of you have been and continue to be focused on objectives, goals, and what you want to accomplish in 2022. Maybe not everybody is kind of thinking, at that kind of level. They don't have the time. They don't have just the experience to be able to do that. And I'm curious what you would say to somebody like that. What do you think they could do to take advantage of a tool like this that's so powerful?
I think you have two options. One, you could go this is going to be available on the partner platform eventually. Robert can speak about timing on that. But if you want to go with GGMS or with Hatch Coaching, I don't know GGMS's plans, but I know Hatch Coaching and Messaging is going to have a whole series of automations that are done for you. And you could just leverage, Robbie's kind of brain power on that. I've kind of seen what he's thinking there, and it's going to be very robust. I don't know what GGMS is planning, but I got to think they're probably going to do something as well. So you could tap into them, or you could just think about the big picture here and say, okay, well, if I just slow down a little bit, spend a little bit of time thinking about this, it could bring a tremendous amount of efficiency and relief to my team and to me personally to take the time to build these,
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I want to start doing some of these comments real quick as we go. Are you okay with that, Robert? We got some questions. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, here's one right here. Is there a way to have people with a certain tag get a brownie card, birthday, for example? Yeah, I mean, you set a task.
Right.
I mean, you can't print the card out and write it out for you, but.
Well, so I don't know if that person's asking if you can do it automatic or not, but if you wanted to do it automated, you could have a tag applied in the automation, and then that tag could trigger a zap that then sent it automatically too.
Right.
Yeah.
Or create a task for staff or something like that.
Yeah,
if you're not using Zapier, because I don't think not as many people use Zapier as we do, probably, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Zapier is a really similar, company, but they, operate with, tons of different companies, if this, then that. Sierra automations are going to be those things that are internal to Sierra. So think of them like if you use Zapier, if you ever had any zaps set up where it was, Sierra trigger, Sierra action, the likelihood is high that you'll be able to move one or more of those apps into automations and not have to use Zapier anymore for that. So yeah, you can certainly create a task for an admin or something like this. That's a good question.
We do it for note card. We do it for note cards. To give you an example, that's one of the ones we released. Also, is for a note card. So when something goes pending.
Question says, can the stop texts be automated to remove /stop/opt out? The good news about that is that's already the case. If somebody sends a text message that says stop, to cancel, it removes them from getting text messages, from there on, if and until the user ever replies start again. So it'll update the communication preference. It'll opt the person out of text messages, and there will be no way for anybody in your team to mistakenly send a text message again to that person.
And I think Mike jumped on this early. He handled this real well. It's, you got to play with it. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Mike? Because everybody runs our different business different. There's no one size fits all.
Yep, 100%. I think you really just have to get in there and start playing around with it and fiddling with it. Like Buddy said, you can't break it. Worst thing is you create an automation that doesn't go live and you do nothing with it.
Yeah, and I know that Mike, just seeing some of the things that you've been doing on Facebook recently, thinking about discipline, self-control, and thinking about achieving your goals. There's really no you posted a picture the other day of you lifting weights, and you were a little bit lighter, smaller then. There was no quick way from that to now, right?
No, it was one morning at a time.
Yeah. So with automations, taking some time just to kind of get in there, like you said, Mike, and play with it and see what's going to be helpful to your business, buddy, to see what's going to alleviate some pain from your day-to-day, not only for you, but for the other agents, that you're working with, to be able to enhance their lives. I mean, that's going to have residual benefits all the way down the board, from their client service to and servicing their leads, but also just in their lives. It's a nice thing to make people's lives better, right?
One of the things too, with the partner platforms, even if both or all of the partners release an automation system for people, I still think there's going to be some automations that everyone's going to want to create that are unique to their own business, kind of like what Buddy was saying, just because everyone's team, everyone's business is structured just a little bit differently. And I think you're going to want some customization to your automations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So let me speak to that for a moment. Yeah, let's get to both of these questions. So the first is there a plan for Sierra to preload some popular automations? So let's go ahead and go back to the strategy that Sierra had as we were considering and anticipating the launch of Sierra Automations. I mentioned that we anticipated the response would be positive. It's been, I think, even more positive than we expected. But that the next question would be, after the excitement, would be, now what? So again, we're having a webinar like this. Philip Clift, our training and education specialist, is going to be dedicating his weekly training this coming Tuesday to automations. But beyond that, we knew people are going to need some help, right? They're going to want a mastermind. They're going to want to create, groups to be able to do that. I've already seen that in various places. We've been a part of one, the three of us yesterday. But we knew beyond that there'd be some want for help. So the way that we plan to approach it is this. We've been actively building Sierra Automations into the partner platform. And if you're not familiar with the partner platform is a unique feature of Sierra Interactive that allows you, the client, to work closely with a service that can populate action plans, drip campaigns, contact templates, lead tags, smart filters into your account. And so when you sign up with a service, just right there within Sierra, all these assets is what we call them, but just all this content for lead management, the whole system can be dropped into your account. You get to work with that service. Mike mentioned a couple of the most popular partners, GGMS and Hatch Coaching. Those are certainly not the only ones, but those are a couple of the most popular. And both of them are aware of these automations coming into the partner platform. I'm hesitant, but I'm going to go ahead and share the target release date for that is January 31, with the hope that we'll be able to launch that even earlier. So the idea there is that automations will be able to be designed by the partner to be able to just take advantage of the tags and action plans and the other system lead management system specific aspects of the partner. Now, not everybody works with a partner, and you may not need to. You don't need to work with a partner in order to have success with Sierra and in real estate. We are planning at some point to build the Sierra default automations into automations feature so that you can kind of grab and maybe get some ideas and some thoughts as you're taking a look and be able to just activate them into your account. And then lastly, we do plan at some point to be able to allow you to share automation specifically to other clients. And so Mike Novak, Buddy Blake, anybody, the Schnorr group, you could just grab the automation that's successful for you, grab a link, send it out to other people. They could be able to import it into your account. So those are some of the ways that we plan to help you with this feature and help our partners, help Sierra, help you, our clients, first and foremost. Any other questions that we're missing, Buddy? Seems
Nope,
like
I think that's every. I think
good. Let's keep going. Yeah. If you've got questions, if you're watching us live, especially, we'd love for you to post comments or questions so that we can take a look and answer them here live. This is live
if they put a comment in, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else, it will go into our feed.
We'll be able to see it.
Yep.
So, Mike, I'm thinking about for you. I know that you mentioned to me the other day, and I think I've got this right. You may have to correct me on the number. But you thought that at the end of the day, once you've spent some time kind of looking through this, that you would be able to create between 40 and 60 automations for your
at least. Yeah. I mean, right now I think I've got 25 or 30 identified and built in there, and I haven't really gone deep on the behavioral ones yet. Like the behavioral triggers, I'm going to probably segment by status for the moment, just because that conversation looks really different if we've talked to somebody versus if they're a cold lead or we haven't talked to them for a very long period of time. But I think if you really look at the admin side of it, the ISA side of it, and the agent side, you could easily have upwards of 60 automations put into the system.
And I'm curious, this is a question for both of you. In software development, there's really kind of, it's not just this, but, and you can certainly do different aspects of it, but you can create software in such a way that it basically is what it is. There's not a lot of flexibility. You adopt it or you don't. Or you can create software that's very flexible. And I think what you'll find with Sierra is that we typically go with this latter route. So there's a lot of permissions, a lot of different granularities around our features to allow you to kind of dial it in that's more specific to your business. But there are benefits and drawbacks to either approach. And I'm curious, maybe start with you, Buddy. What kind of benefits would you see to being able to basically create these automations from scratch, or later if you're working with a partner, utilize those? But creating your own automations, thinking about your own business, even though it may take some time up front, I'm wondering if you see any benefits to being able just not to have something that just kind of is happening in the background, but you don't get to touch, versus be able to basically do it yourself.
Well, I mean, like I said, you get to customize it for your business, your style, your personality, your region. I mean, how we do business is different than Mike does, and it doesn't matter where you're at. And even personality wise, you can change it. Your management style, like for instance, I'm more interested in, or most interested in, the whole accountability side first, especially this time of year when people don't want to work. But the safety net, I mean, Robert, it allows me to have a safety net, so that if all else fails, there's certainly something still happening. Yes, we can do it with action plans, but at least there's some eyes on the database other than just mine, even if they're automated AI eyes. I just think that and as you guys develop this, it's going to allow us to do, even more and more things that, it's like Mike said, it's kind of endless. When you start going down the rabbit hole, you're like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. So.
Right. Mike, I'm curious from your perspective. Like I said, there's benefits and drawbacks to either approach, but how are you taking advantage of doing something that's basically built it yourself? What do you see as the benefits?
Customization, like Buddy said, like the ability to completely make something that's unique to our own team and business and style, and that has our fingerprints on it. I mean, I see a lot of benefit to having the Hatch one put into our account, and we'll probably look at that when it's available. But I kind of like building it myself so that it's completely unique to how we're doing things. Like there's just a little bit of nuances, even between how Robbie and I manage our databases, and we're using the exact same system, So even little nuances like, what an active status means in our world versus what it means in his world. So I just want to have total customization, and I think it's going to provide a huge level of consistency and accuracy and transparency as well.
It's excellent. Yeah, and somebody just posted on Facebook, the man, the myth, the legend.
The big arm in there.
With the big arm, that's right. The emoji arm. Well, okay, let's get down to some details around these things. You've already kind of both talked at a high level and some detail, but I'm curious, let's start with you, Mike. Where are you starting to drive deep into how you're setting up automations? Kind of how are you thinking about them? Somebody hears you say maybe 40, 50, 60 automations. You've got 25 so far. Are you just kind of doing stuff, or is there a method to the madness?
I created a Google sheet. I mean, I can share it if you want me to. But I basically just put down, hey, let's start identifying the tag-based triggers. Like to me, that was the easiest one to kind of wrap my head around, just because we have a lot of tags. But typically when we add a tag, that means that 4 or 5 other things are going to need to happen to that lead. I just started kind of mapping those out, and kind of putting them into my spreadsheet and thinking through them, and then talking through them with our ISA. Like, hey, if we're applying this A tag, then we'd want to make sure there's no B, C, D tag or F tag on this lead, right? And that would also therefore mean that it's not a qualify status because we've talked to them. So now it's going to be an active status. That also mean that we wouldn't want a fully automated plan running on them, trying to make contact with them because we just spoke to them. You know what I mean? So like I just kind of started working through it like that in kind of a conversational way with the different departments of our team, and then starting to put it in my spreadsheet and just think through it. And then once I had my spreadsheet done, it took me like 3 minutes per automation to build once it was mapped out. The hard part is thinking about your own unique business and how you can make this simple but effective without overcomplicating it.
Yeah, I think that if we want to come back to it, I think it would be kind of fun to see that Google Sheet for a minute. I think it might be overwhelming to some people, but I think also there are some people who are going to say, I want to try that. And so it might be nice just to kind of see for a second what that looks like. Buddy, you mentioned you're kind of focused on agent accountability and kind of the safety net, various things. Anything that you're interested to spend a little bit more time on in terms of what's there now? And then also I can give some hints as to some other triggers, conditions, actions that are coming that may be helpful to people even beyond what we've got in V1.
Well, I think that's what it's going to be around, because being able to see the agent's activity and the engagement on the lead is going to be really where this thing starts for me, moving into that world where we can apply action plans, tasks, reminders, all kinds of things based on, is this person getting called? Has this person called X amount of times in the last few days while there's still a status of new or whatever, however you do it? I mean, that's going to be really fun. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really going to, I think it's, one thing is I'm already learning things from just the few automations we got of how people we were missing. So
really,
already just absolutely. Just some of the, just like I said, just the request information, you know what I mean? Yeah, we got the status bar, we can look at it, but in your course of the day, if you got a big database, you got 1,000 things coming in and they get lost. And I think that just those little, and I'm like, oh my God, how did this happen? And that's a really good agent. I mean, it's showing some things already. Just
nobody's perfect. And so you're saying that you've already
no
seen
different than me. We're bogged down. We're looking at a screen full of stuff and it's hard to get it to stand out.
So the lead had requested more information on a property, which demonstrate potentially a high intent lead.
Actually requested to see a property.
To view a property, right.
And nothing happened.
Yes. And so these are the kinds of things that potentially an automation can help surface. And that's the other thing. It's not just about, and that's a really important point. The automations in Sierra are not designed just to kind of be a safety net, although they are. There's also and it's not just about, making it so that you can automate these menial tasks, although it does that. The automations, Sierra automations, are there to surface some of the biggest opportunities that you may have otherwise missed. Mm-hmm. I think that's where some of the behavioral triggers are so important. And we talk about flexibility and customization, some of the variables that our developers were able to build in, like it's not just it will be clicking 3 consecutive listing alerts. And Buddy, I think, it's going back now several months, but I think you were the one who suggested that as a high intent lead. I think the question was probably, Buddy, what would a lead be doing that would demonstrate high intent? And one of them that you surfaced was if they're clicking consecutive listing alerts. Not only do we build click consecutive listing alerts in as a trigger in Sierra Automation, we give you the option to decide how many, right? Mm-hmm. So that could be 2, it could be 15, right? You get to decide that. And then you get to decide what happens, as it goes on. So again, it surfaces opportunity that you may have otherwise missed. Mike, I'm curious if you got that sheets pulled
up. I can definitely share. I just wanted to name kind of one more opportunity here. To me, there's a really big opportunity with the Sierra, with the Facebook group to share some of our automations and share what you're building, because I think it's going to really open people's minds if we do that. And this feature, more than any, I think really requires some collaboration for us each to benefit from what other people are doing. It's a huge opportunity, in my opinion.
I agree, Mike. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Wonderful.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Buddy. Exactly. And that is really what we try and foster and that we encourage within the Sierra Mastermind group, facebook.com/group/Sierra Interactive. It's exclusive for Sierra clients and a handful of others who work closely with our clients. Share those ideas. It's a mastermind group, so share what's working. Here, Mike is being very transparent and giving us a peek behind the curtain for a lot of work as he shares. Yeah, take a look. So just kind of at a high level, Mike, take us through kind of what you were thinking and how you built this.
Yeah, so I just kind of broke mine down by categories, based off triggers. So this top group is the tag-based triggers. The next one down is the status-based triggers. Those are the ones that I think we use the most right now. I just started kind of thinking through how to use them. So for instance, if we tag a follow-up A and we then, tell the system that it's going to be a buyer, we then wanted to stop our fully automated plan because there's a reach out plan that's running on that lead, trying to establish communication with them. And then the second action would be to assign a fully automated nurture buyer plan, which is just basically kind of an insurance policy that we're going to follow up with the person. The third action would be to change the status to active from qualify. And then the fourth action would be to clean up the lead tags, which would be to remove B, C, D, F, LQ, or HQ tags, which are all different tags that could exist on that lead if an A tag was applied. So that's why A tag is not on there, because you're applying that tag and you'd be removing all these other ones. So that same logic, like a lot of people in Sierra use Sisu, you can do it with your set met signed tags as well, and then start people on like a buyer signed campaign, change their status, get them into kind of like a action plan where you're going to warm them up before the appointment occurs. If you don't sign them, kind of a follow-up plan to keep in touch with them and stay warm with them. And then of course, once they go to signed, actually making them into a client. So that's how I mapped it out. I'm happy to share this in the Sierra community. It's a little bit unique to Hatch messaging just because that's what we use. And I'm sure Robbie's will be quite a bit more thorough and robust than this is, but this is kind of our starting place.
So one of the things that this kind of, demonstration may, confirm is, for some people, is, man, I need to get some action plans, right? I mean, you've got plans designed for the various levels that, once you qualify a lead and you find out where they're at, maybe their timeline, you've got action plans designed for that that would be able to run through. And again, if you don't have the time, if you don't have, maybe the expertise for that kind of thing, suggest that you would check out one of our partners and utilize the partner platform. All right, so we've got an all caps yes. If the ecosystem shares on Facebook, great. And I agree. I think it's a really good suggestion. One of the nice things that I've experienced being at Sierra is that we do have a lot of clients who are more than willing to share and be transparent about what's successful for them. And what, both of you, Buddy and Mike, I think are exemplary standout examples of this, being able to share some of what's going on in detail. And I think the irony is sometimes if you find something that works, you might try and hold it close, but it does really seem like the more that you're willing to share, this is not any kind of scientific fact or anything. It just seems to me that the more people who share transparently about things that are working for them, it seems like the more successful they are. So I don't think that's any kind of karmic thing. I think there's something to it.
And the people that aren't, here's the deal. The truth of the matter is you can share it because 95% of people aren't going to do anything with it anyway.
That's the truth. Right there.
It's kind of like when an agent leaves, a lot of people are arguing over, gosh, did they take our database or whatever? And I'm like, what's the difference? They didn't call them when they were here. You think I'm going to call them when they're on?
Well, I think it's the opportunity for this group to really be more of a mastermind and less of just hey, new features coming out from the admin, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Mike. Steve says sharing is caring. Very good, Steve. Thank you. That's exactly true. And then, we got a truth bomb comment, Buddy. Yeah, Buddy, truth bomb.
Buddy's dropping bombs.
Mike, you've been with Sierra for quite a while. Both of you have. But Mike, we talked about this feature. Where does Sierra Automations kind of rank in the, kind of the list of features that Sierra's put out in terms of helpfulness to your business?
I think it's right there with the fully automated action plans. Like I remember when that was launched and that changed the game. And I think automations is like right there. It's like 1A, 1B basically, as far as releases go. I've been with Sierra for 4 years and there's so many little updates that are done that are, they do make a huge difference for sure. And they make things easier to use and more effective. But this to me is one of the most exciting launches and changes we've had to the system. It just provides so much efficiency. It's literally the most exciting feature I've seen in Sierra.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I too, I do. Just from my perspective, from where I sit, the mobile app, which we released a year ago, was by far, like, I don't think anything will ever touch the number of requests that we received for a mobile app. And now, a year later, the Sierra mobile app has reached a level of maturity that I think is really outstanding. That your typical agent level user can basically use the mobile app and not the web app any longer for what they need to do in almost every way.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the app too. That was right up there also.
And with Sierra automations, though, this has been a super exciting feature because of the potential that it has for you to be able, someone who uses Sierra, to be able to basically really increase your efficiency and your power. All right, buddy, there was a question for you. Interested in hearing more about the action plans or whatever follow-up you do, whatever you do out of when a lead schedules a showing request. What do you do?
I'll show you our spreadsheet, but I'm embarrassed. Much like if I was standing beside Mike with my shirt off, I would be embarrassed. I'm going to show you my spreadsheet. They're talking about the urgent buyer requests. I mean, that's just right down here. I mean, the behavior, lead request info, or lead schedules are showing as, status change to prime, task, buyer agent, and lender to call, and then a note so that we can get it in, urging by email to agent, lender, and manager. So it's just a reminder. I mean, really, it's just a reminder, but the real thing it does, it brings it top of mind for me and our staff and things like that. And it stands out because you got an email. It's not just a notification or something like that.
Very good. Yeah, thanks for sharing. With Sierra automations too, I want to mention that one of Sierra's values, our company values, is progress, not perfection. I'm proud of what our team was able to build for version 1 of automations, but it's not done. I think that even some of the things that you all have asked for, Buddy and Mike, you've wanted to see a little bit more around lead communication that hasn't happened within a certain amount of days. Buddy, you kind of mentioned that. Buddy, one of the things that I know that you had requested early on when I said what kind of signifies a high intent lead, one of the things you mentioned, for example, and I don't know if you even remember it, they ran a calculation on the mortgage calculator. You said that is a sign of a potential high intent lead. Mm-hmm. So as we were kind of scoping out what we could release in version 1, we had these different kind of tiers that we put with them. So we're not done. Right? We're going to continue to build on it. This is by no means a finished product. It is by no means perfect, dialed in, no improvements we made. We're sitting back now and watching what happens. We're continuing to build and make improvements to automations, and we will continue to do so. I mentioned the partner platform, but then there's some other things as well that we've already received some feedback, like the ability to duplicate individual automations and some various things, which it's kind of pretty meta, right? The duplicate allows you to be more efficient with the feature that's designed to make you more efficient. So we'll definitely be receiving feedbacks. And I think that's one of the things, gentlemen, I hope that you can speak to with integrity, which is that Sierra receives feedback, and we want the feedback. We want to receive it so that we can build something that really works for you, right? We want to continue to build and enhance the product, enhance existing features, release new features, and we want to innovate. And
well, I'm gonna give you a shout out there, because I mean, that's one of the reasons I came to you years ago, and I've stayed with you. That's one of the top 3 reasons is your interval of innovation is very consistent and it's quick. Because usually as a company grows, it slows down and then they'll innovate every 6 months, and it gets to be more of a blanket, a wide paintbrush that we really can't customize. So not only have your innovations the interval been quick, but also almost all of them have been so we can make it our own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've been really impressed, like actually completely blown away by how receptive you are, Robert, and your team to feedback, like really explaining opportunities and why that's an opportunity to put in the system and how it affects, lots of users, not just one user or 2 users, but where it actually solves problems and headaches for a multitude of the community, and then being able to distill that idea into actionable development. Like the development team is, I mean, I'm just blown away by how fast they make changes to things. Like when you and I were going back and forth on the app, it was like, hey, here's a bug, here's a feature that'd be really cool. Next day, there it is in the app. It's just like, whoa, okay, that was fast.
It doesn't always work that way, but sometimes it does. And so we do have a fantastic development team. And that's, I mean, I think, we're here talking about automations together, but it's just one of those things where it takes an entire team, and we've just got such a fantastic team. So shout out to Dave, our head of product, our entire development staff, and Ben Pesco, our CEO, who is consistently encouraging us to be focused on the client and supporting the client and being customer focused. That's what we want to do, right? So that involves receiving feedbacks, that involves sometimes admitting like, this isn't as good as it could be. Let's make it better together. And that's what we want to collaborate with you. We want to collaborate with you to be able to continue to build a product that actually works for you day to day. So please, as you're using automations, as you're spending that time getting into it over the course of maybe today or in the next several weeks, next few months, as you're getting into it and you see some things that could be better, tell us. Send it into support@sierrainteractive.com, or talk to some other people about it and see, this might be something we might be able to build, right? We might be able to enhance. And frequently we receive feedbacks where it's like, yeah, that's true, that's right, let's go ahead and we'll plan to prioritize that and build it into the platform. All right, well, guys, as we're coming up here, not fully at the hour, but do want to be respectful of time. I'm curious, next steps. I'm curious what you're thinking in terms of next steps with automations, because you all certainly haven't, finished doing what you're going to do. And then the next step that you would provide to anybody out there who's watching now or in the future, who's interested in automation. So first you, and then what you'd encourage the person watching to do.
I'm going to just keep thinking more about it. Like I need to do a lot more deep thinking on how we could leverage this in our business. I need to just even though I've played with the tool so many times, I still need to get back in there and just let my brain kind of think and explore what's possible. And I need to keep having conversations with the different departments, like our transaction coordinator or our listing coordinator, and understanding their workflows and what they're doing in the CRM, so I can then understand if there's an automation that could simplify and bring efficiency to their world. For other people, I mean, if you're unsure of getting in there and getting started, I think you should just get in there and start playing with it. And I think you should leverage the community for ideas. Like if we all start sharing, like if everyone just starts sharing their top automation that they're really proud of, like Buddy's got some really cool stuff he built there, share that in the group. And I think that we can learn a lot from one another.
What about you, Buddy?
I mean, what I've done, I think where my head is, I'm going into our lead database, and you go through and you find people, you just kind of look through them, and you see the ones that are highly active on the site and they're not getting called, they're not doing it. So I go in and I look at the chain of the information. Okay, at what point could we created a trigger so that this would not easily get ignored? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you do, find the problem and then the cure. Don't come up with the cure first and then the problem. I think that identify the weak points in your business, or the points that maybe you want to offload on, to somebody else, and use the automation to deal with it. But I think, like Mike said, I mean, right now is the time to, fourth quarter to me is always, actually fourth quarter in the first month or so of the new year has always been the time to work on your business, because you're not in it as much. Our market has slowed here some, but we got no houses. But now is the time to work on it, because my gut is once spring rolls around, you ain't going to have time to mess with these automations. Okay. You better have them in place before then, whatever you're going to be using.
It's a huge opportunity right now to take advantage of the downtime, because a lot of markets like ours is just like yours, Buddy. There's nothing to sell. High intent buyers are still getting out there and getting stuff done, and of course listings. But it's a really, really good opportunity, like Robert said at the beginning of the call, to work on the business and get super granular and clear on what 2022 is going to look like. I know in some different masterminds I'm a part of, we've got a lot of Marco Polos going back and forth, breaking down and distilling the specific steps we're implementing in our business to make 2022 spectacular. I think automation should be a part of it.
Let automations be a catalyst for, really thinking about what you want out of 2022. And maybe it's just a little less pain in some of your day-to-day workflows. Maybe it's a few less missed opportunities and a few more discovered opportunities. Like automations can allow you to be able to, I think, really unearth some great opportunities and alleviate some pain in your day-to-day. So it's really that both and approach, right? The automations can do. All right, Ryan asks, is there an automation that would clear/archive a text message of stop and then assign the next fully automated action plan? Actually, fully automated action plans do that now. In terms of the setting up of an individual fully automated action plan, there already are post-plan actions that you can set up. And that's just a good thing to keep in mind when you think about the word automations. In Sierra, there are already any number of places where things happen in an automated way. For example, if you update a status of a lead to do not contact, it modifies some communication preferences. If you, when you're setting up a lead pond, you can set up all kinds of things that will happen in an automated way. When you create a fully automated, it's right there in the name, a fully automated action plan, you can set up post-plan actions. So I would just point you there, Ryan. All right. Do you see any other questions, buddy, that we're seeing? Here's one. We're getting into granular. When buyer status updated to new, and if lead source is Google PPC, then apply FAAP and update buyer status to qualify. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of automation you can create. Where source equals or source does not equal is one of the conditions within the Sierra automations from V1. So that's exactly right. So
you went through it pretty quickly, Robert, and it's a little nuance in there, but I didn't even pick up on it till the last week that if you click on the equal sign, it makes it a not. So
that's right.
Be really clear about that.
So you could say lead source equals Zillow, or just click on that equal sign and change it to lead source does not equal
Zillow.
Actually, that's not in the triggers right now, is it?
It's in the criteria. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, buddy's going to be checking that out.
That's he's clicking around right now. I can see it.
Yeah, he's taking a look.
Just be careful if you just set the criteria. That could be, oh my gosh, that could be interesting.
Well, and that's why the criteria are important, right? Those are the ands. And so like I mentioned really quickly is in the very quick demo, which there's a video overview within the Sierra knowledge base, as well as a fairly extensive knowledge base article, if I do say so myself, that's in there that gives some various details around it. But with those criteria, there's some that we were putting in. You all were both part of the beta, but we had criteria, triggers, and actions that were being added in the last days leading up to the launch. And probably are just, some of y'all who were on the beta just may have even missed. So creating task was one of those that got in the very last. I was very happy about that. Yeah, the buyer.
I'm going to say too. I'm going to say what you see right here that JC Realty or Regina. What she posted is exactly the mindset you need to do, and write that down. And just like Mike said, there's your case right there. That should be your very first for Virginia. This should be your first automation, and do it and then test it. Right. So, I mean, that right there, that's a perfect scenario. Like you said, granular, that just versus taking a look at Mike's spreadsheet and saying, okay, I want all those. Okay.
Right.
Start with one. Just start with one automation.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And just to kind of, when they say test it, the Sierra automations, you can activate and deactivate. So you can have them in essentially draft mode, right? Then you can activate them and turn them on, and they will run. So if you're curious, how will this work? There is a little test option there. You can test and click the test button, or find a lead and apply the automation to that lead, and see how it works for them. All right. JC Realty Regina follows up with, it works well for us already. And I love to hear that. I know, awesome. I'm really glad about it. I'm glad it works for you now, but it's going to keep getting better. So just stay tuned as we continue to enhance and iterate beyond today. I'll say that. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, how about we go ahead and wrap up and do this, guys? What if we do this? What if we come back, say, in 4, 6, 8 weeks, and we present some of the pain that's been alleviated from the day-to-day with automations, as well as some of the opportunities that have been surfaced within automations, so we can really get into the specifics of how it's helped your business. Like, this is some direct and verifiable proof that this has been helpful to me. What do you think about it? Should we regroup in 4, 6, 8 weeks?
Man, any reason to get on here with Mike, I'm on for
it. I'm down for sure.
Okay, I think that would be good. And if you are watching and you are creating automations, we want to hear about those automations that are working for you, and especially not just look at my fancy automation, but here are the opportunities that surfaced for me because of this fancy automation. We'd love to hear about that. Send any of your success stories to support@sierrainteractive.com, or better, share your success stories to the Mastermind group. Tell us how you got there. Facebook.com/groups/Sierra Interactive. Amanda, our head of product, who's working in the background right now alongside Kim, our marketing manager, she's already putting something on the calendar for us, Mike and Buddy, so that we can be able to move forward. Head of growth. That's exactly right, Amanda. All right, we got a thanks. Thank you. Appreciate you all. You're welcome. Thank you. Facebook user. Don't see your name, but glad to see you. And Mike, Buddy, thank you so much. Not only for being here today, which I'm very grateful for, sharing with some transparency around what's working for you, but all that you've done to help Sierra to build this feature and so many other things that you do to help us at Sierra, help me personally. So thank you very much for being here today.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you.
All right.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Mike, Buddy, we'll talk to you later. Everybody watching, we'll see you the next time. Have a good day.